Welcome to the Mad Dog Institute of Metal Detecting and Holding. Today we're going to be talking about gritting when it comes to metal detecting. If you're really serious about detecting, then gritting is the only procedure that is highly effective. But I'll have to warn you, it requires extreme discipline. But it will generate 3 to 4 more targets per square yard than your standard walkabouts. Okay, let's talk a little bit what yields high discovery rates, i.e. targets, coins, rings, a proper swing, a slow sweep, a slow walk, and gritting. You know, metal detecting really isn't hard, but it's just a summation of using some very small fundamental skills in some different areas that, when added together, really generate high success. And that's what we're going to talk about when we talk about gritting today. So we need to talk about basics. If you don't have the basics down, then there's not a whole lot you can do. If you've got a bad swing, then gritting will not help that much. And the first thing about a swing is no teacupping. And the factory guys normally recommend a swing rate of 4 seconds per swing cycle. This is really unbelievably slow when you think about that. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004 for one complete cycle. That's pretty slow compared to most of the swings I see out there today. You also need a 20% coil overlap, both front to back and side to side in your swing. So you want 20% always overlapping. Now, while standing still, you need to complete one left to right swing cycle while standing still. This ensures that you have covered the same area twice. Now, once a swing cycle is completed, then you step forward 80% of your coil length and then stop. And then you complete a swing cycle and then step forward and stop again. And then you just continue to repeat this. This is unbelievably and excruciatingly slow. However, it does pay huge, ginormous dividends. Okay, now that we got the swing out of the way, let's focus more on the mechanics of gritting itself. Wherever you go, you need to identify a 25-foot by 25-foot area. You need to determine how many of your paces are in 25 feet. You just need to go out there and figure it out, and then whatever that count is, that's what you're going to use from that time forward. Okay, a 25 by 25 foot area will take approximately 3+ hours to grit in one direction only. The time varies by the number of targets that are dug, the size of the coil used, and the width of your swing. You want to mark the 4 corners of your grid with weighted small colored cloths initially. And let's take a look at one of those cloths look like. The next step we have to do is to actually set and walk our grid lanes. Select a corner of your 25 by 25 grid to start. You can select any one you want. The lane width is 80% of your swing width. Move the flag marking your starting point 1 lane width toward the flag that is on one of your flanks. This will mark the center of the return lane. Walk in a straight line from the starting point to the flag at the other end of the grid box's corner. Pick up the flag and advance it 2 lane widths. Back up 1 lane width and walk in a straight line to the marker on the opposite side. Repeat the process. After you have covered the grid area completely in this manner, then start all over again with the grid lanes 90 degrees to your first pass. So let's see what this looks like with the graphics aid, because that was a whole lot coming at you too quick. Okay, so let's take a look at how this actually looks. We identify a approximately 25 by 25 foot area, and we put a marker flag in each corner. One starting here, one here, one here, and we'd normally put one here, which is the actual corner of it, but we move it 1 lane width over and start at point here, and you'll see why we do that in a minute. And then so we start at the X and we move down the lane to that initial point. And then we move, once we get there, we're done with that lane. And so we take this flag and we move it 2 lanes over and place it here. We back up 1 lane and proceed towards the flag that we had already offset. And once we arrive here, we again move this flag 2 lanes over, back up 1 lane, and proceed towards the flag at the other end of the field. And you can see by putting these flags that way, it allows you to walk in straight lines, and you're able to cover the entire area that you want. And then once you finish it, you just rotate it 90 degrees and start all over. There are 3 things you must know before you start gridding. You need to calculate these, and once you calculate them, these values remain the same. The first one is you have to determine the lane width in steps, which is 80% of whatever your sweep is. You know, I measured mine, and it comes out to be 2 steps. Next thing you have to do is the number of steps in 25 feet. Just go out and have a 25-foot tape measure. Just do normal steps and see how many they are in that 25 feet. For me, it's just 20 steps. And the last thing you have to do is calculate the number of shoe lengths for 80% of your coil length. I'm running a 15-inch coil. 80% of that is 12 inches. My shoe size is 9. So approximately 1.5 shoe lengths for every step that I advance when I do 1 full sweep. Let's talk a little bit about the results here. I've gone into areas that have been totally pounded out, or that I have personally pounded out using a walkabout method, which is pretty much what most people use. I've been stunned by how much I find on the first grid pass, and even more stunned by how much I find on the last grid pass. You will be tempted to drop the last 90-degree pass, but don't. This is when you will find the really deep targets. You have to dig every clear target, even if you know it is junk. Its removal will almost always reveal other targets in the immediate area. Always back up and proceed forward after you have dug a target because of that. Okay, let's take a little time and reflect on what I covered here. Gridding is not a social sport. It's laborious and mind-numbing. However, it yields very high find rates. Realization of the amount of time it takes to grid just one small park, 25-foot squares at a time, is overwhelming at first. However, you then realize you have a lifetime of good detecting ahead of you. No matter where you go, no how many people have been there before you, you're always going to be able to find a lot of good targets. My recommendation is vary where you grid from trip to trip for variety. However, keep track of the completed areas using the Add Polygon function on Google Earth. What I do is I just have a list of all the parks I go to, and then when I go there and I grid out an area, after I've done that, I go back to Google Earth and I draw, you know, that exact area very precisely on Google Earth and store it. And so when I go to that area again in the future, I'll just pull up Google Earth, take a look at all the areas that I have done in the past, and then, you know, of course, avoid those. And you may want to watch this URL that I've got listed here on the problems with DD coils and shallow targets. And yes, the URL is correct. Well, I hope you had enjoyed what we did today at the Institute, and I hope it helps you become more productive metal detectors.